In the previous class, you have studied about the social structure of the Mesopotamians. So in this class, we are going to learn about the family life of the Mesopotamians, how the Mesopotamians have led their families. So the basic unit of their life or the structure of society is a family. So many such families together they form the society of Mesopotamia. So here, what is the basic unit of a Mesopotamian society? It is family. Even today, our society is having a basic unit called family. In a similar manner, even the basic structure or the basic unit of Mesopotamian society is a family. The Mesopotamian families followed the norms of patriarchal society. So what do you mean by patriarchal society? That means the society where each and every family is headed by father. So father is head of the family. Such society or such family is called patriarchal society or patriarchal families. So a patriarchal family is a family where father will be head of the family, and all such families where father will become head will form patriarchal society. So patriarchal means father is head of the family. Such society is called, patriarchal society or patriarchal family. It was predominantly monogamous society. So what is monogamous? It is patriarchal society on one side, which means father is head of the family. What is monogamous society? That means generally a person used to marry only a single woman. So they don't have multiple marriage. I mean, any person they cannot. No, they didn't have the habit of making more than one woman marriage. Okay, they only marry only one woman. Such kind of a thing is called monogamous society. So here monogamous society means in such societies a person will marry only one woman. So having single wife is called as monogamous society. And father was the head of the family. As I said, patriarchal society already. In such societies, father will be head of the family. However, the rights of women were also safeguarded. That means, even though the male person or father is head of the family, women were also given importance. Their rights were safeguarded. And so the rights of women were safeguarded even though father is head of the family or a male person is head of the family. Women were also treated equally and their rights were safeguarded. So women in Mesopotamia could go anywhere or do anything if they had their husband's permission. And boys were sent to school to gain education in reading, writing, and arithmetic. So here boys, women, no, they can go anywhere, they can do any kind of work, take up any kind of job, but they should take the permission of the head of the family or the husband. So only with the permission of the husband, they can. I mean, women used to have freedom. Boys were sent to school to gain education. So generally, boys were allowed to go to school to read, write, learn some mathematical skills and all. Whereas girls were taught dance and music. So girls were mostly limited to household work, and also uh, you know, they were taught certain art forms like dance and music. So you can see the family, structure of the Mesopotamians in this picture. It's a woven cloth on which we can observe this kind of pictures now saying about family, like his father head of the family, children, and no mother. So such kind of differentiation is there. This picture reveals that yes, there was a family system existing even in Mesopotamia. So this is about the family life of Mesopotamians. So coming to the occupation of Mesopotamians. So what kind of occupation were they doing? What jobs they were doing? So that is about the occupation. What kind of jobs they take up or they took for their livelihood. So nowadays you see there are many kinds of jobs, right? Like you have bus drivers, we have farmers, we have you know like vegetable sellers. There are many jobs today. What kind of jobs those people used to do in those days? The occupations or jobs of Mesopotamians included agriculture, animal husbandry, art and craft. So majority families, they are dependent on agriculture. They are even doing animal rearing. That means they used to grow cattle, I mean, like they used to rear the cattle for milk and other products, and they use the cattle even for agriculture. Art and craft. That means handmade objects. Those days, people were skilled in making certain objects, and they used to make it, they made it even as a profession. However, agriculture remained the core occupation. That means the important among all the other jobs that Mesopotamians do is agriculture. And agriculture, how, let us see how agriculture is. The soil between river Euphrates and Tigris was very fertile and suitable for all types of crops. So the soil, see, to do agriculture, the soil is very important. Hence, we know that the two rivers that are flowing in Mesopotamia is Euphrates and Tigris. So the soil is very fertile because of these two rivers. Because the soil is brought by these two rivers. Whenever floods come, these two rivers overflow and they bring the fertile soil from river to the land. And this soil will get deposited on the land, and it is a very fertile soil with all kind of nutrients and minerals. So, which is helpful for crops. Wheat and barley were the most important crops that these people used to grow. Okay, and they also grew various fruits, vegetables, and pulses. So you can see the agricultural activity happening in Mesopotamia here. This is an artistic representation of agricultural activity. So wheat and barley were grown more, and you can see here cattle being used for agriculture, and they also growed fruits, vegetables, and pulses. Mesopotamians were among the earliest cultivators of wheat. Okay, so wheat was cultivated by Mesopotamians. Throughout the world, if you take, these people were the beginners of cultivation of wheat. Okay, till then nobody was cultivating wheat, but they were the first people to grow wheat. Irrigation was essential in the region due to irregular rainfall. So what happened? They also had irrigation facilities. What do you mean by irrigation facility? Irrigation facility means providing water for agriculture purpose. Those days, how they used to provide water for agriculture? By building dikes and also some kind of canals for water supply. See, from river you can't take the entire river water for agriculture, right? The fields will be little far away from the river. So during such situations, what will happen is to make the river water reach to the agriculture fields. Suppose you take this river is flowing here, and this river water, you cannot grow crops very close to river because if floods come, all the crops will be drowned. So fields will be very far. Now, to divert the water from river in small amounts, these people have constructed dikes. You can see a dike here, a small channel through which water is flowing. Have you seen this? See, this is a dike. The river water is slowly diverted into the small kind of channels, and this water is later used for fields. And canals, like these are all canals and dikes. For increased productivity, so they invented ox-drawn plows. So if you see here, ox, is used for plowing the land or tilling the land. To make more land into cultivation, they used ox-drawn plows. Plow, to just plow, I mean, till the land. They call it as tilling the land, so that they can later sow the seeds in that gaps and crops will grow. For example, during the harvest season, all people come together to gather the grains and store them efficiently. So, harvesting season, they also had a separate season for harvesting, and They all together come, they harvest the crop, and they take and store the grains also. This kind of thing was also observed in Mesopotamians. They not only used plow, ox, river water like diversions like dikes and canals for agriculture, but also the harvested crops were stored. Okay, this kind of environment was associated with agriculture. As rainfall was very less, they dependent on irrigation facility. Even though rivers are there, the rivers can flow good only if rainfall is available. So whatever river water is available, they used to use it by diverting that river water into small channels of water called dikes and canals, and through that ox drawn cultivation and all, they made agriculture a major job for them. So after agriculture as a major job, the next job that majority of the people adapted or they practiced was art and craft. So they are called artisans. So who are artisans? Artisans are people who make, the skilled, who make objects with hands. So Mesopotamians were highly creative and industrious. That means they creatively made several objects and they used to, keep them for sale. They developed specialized skills such as weaving, pottery, and sculpting. So weaving was one such important job. That means through the, you can call them like weaving clothes. Okay, so they used to weave certain clothes, and pottery, making pots, and sculpting, making some, statues and all. So this kind of artwork was taken up by people in those days. They used gold and lapis lazuli for jewelry and woods and reeds for furniture. So here in this thing, they were also jewelry makers. So Mesopotamians used to wear several jewelry that we will see in the later slides. And this jewelry was made up of gold, also another material called lapis lazuli. So this is a kind of stone. Okay, so I'll show you in the stone during the explanation how these stones and all will look. So lapis lazuli is a kind of a shining bright stone which is used for making jewelry and all. They used gold and this kind of lapis lazuli for jewelry, wood and reeds for furniture. So they used furniture making was also a job. That means chairs, I know something like that they make. And the designs were intricate and beautiful. So these people they made very beautiful furniture. So these people they have made very intricate and beautiful furniture. So intricate means very detailed. So whenever they make furniture, no, every detail of the furniture they make is very precise, and no, they make it so effective. The Mesopotamians were probably the first to use potter's wheel, and a stone potter's wheel found at the city of Ur, it was around 3129 BCE. So during this time period, they found, these people, they also know they also know the art of making wheel, because during making of pots, they require a wheel. So that wheel was also made by these Mesopotamians. So they were the first people to make a wheel. If you look at throughout worldwide, Mesopotamians were the first people to make a wheel. And I'll show you how this wheel and all will look in the next slide. And this wheel was generally used for making pots. You might have seen that, no? The wheel will be rotating and no, the clay with pot, people will be making a nice design on that. So this kind of pot making was observed by these people. These people are also well acquainted with metallurgy. So not only making sculptures, weaving, and pots, not only jewelry making, but also these people they used metals for making various objects like statues they made, and beautiful ornaments were also made by using this metals. So this is a kind of art and craft jobs that were taken up by the Mesopotamians. One is weaving, second is they were jewelry makers, third is they were furniture makers, fourth is There were people with who can use metals to make a different kind of ornaments, objects, and statues. So this kind of profession was also seen during the Mesopotamian days. See in this slide, you can see that all art making I was telling you, right? So see here, this is weaving. See how nicely they have weaved a cloth with the beautiful designs on it. And you can see the sculpture making. Okay, this is a kind of statues they made in those days. This is a potter's wheel which they have designed those days. And see the parts how they made pottery. This kind of pottery where they used to make. And this is the jewelry they made. So with metallic, see they used metal not to make some jewelry here. And you can see some kind of tools they made out of hand axe and other things. And these are the kind of vessels they made with metals. So this is kind of art and craft work that people of Mesopotamians took up, and they were, very skilled persons in this kind. After agriculture, these art and craft makers are like, they are the most innovative people and the most dependent on this kind of profession. So if you look at the trade and commerce, okay, so what is trade and commerce? So what is trade and what is commerce? See, trade is nothing but buying and selling of goods. Okay. And commerce is nothing but it is an activity that helps for trade to operate. So in the economy, generally, if commerce is included, then that means it allows the trade to function. So here, if you buy and sell goods, that economy, is having selling and buying of goods between the, for example, you take in a market you go, there will be traders, right? From the manufacturers, these traders will buy, and this is called trade. And in the commerce, when can you say that commerce and activity has happened? From the trader or from the businessman, if the good reaches to a last customer or the consumer, then that activity is said to be commerce. So don't get confused with this. Trade and commerce, you just remember that it is something related to business, selling and buying of goods and products. So this kind of activities were also there during those days. Surplus agricultural produce led to the rise in trade and commerce between cities in Mesopotamia. So surplus agricultural produce. What do you mean by surplus? Surplus means more than what they require. Mesopotamians produced agricultural products more than what they required. Suppose wheat you take. They produced wheat more than what they can consume. So it is called surplus. All agricultural products were surplus to Mesopotamians. Hence, that extra things which they have grown or which they have produced, that they involved it in the trade or in the business. People bartered from producers for timber, stone, wine, and precious metal. The kind of trade that was operating was barter system. What is barter system? Exchange of equal value of goods. I have one particular goods and you have one particular goods. I require your goods and you require my goods or my product. So we both exchange it in a value wise. Suppose uh, I have bought some wheat bag. Okay, I'll give you a wheat bag and you give me some metal objects which is required for my house. You're a vessel maker. You make objects through metals, and so you give me that metals to me and that objects to me, and I'll give you wheat. This kind of exchange was referred as barter system. So the timber was exchanged, stones, some precious stones were exchanged, wine, and no precious metals. They were all involved in the barter system. Archaeologists have discovered seals from Mesopotamia at Indus Valley sites. So these Mesopotamians, they had trade relations with Indus Valley people. Who are these Indus Valley people? If you look at the India map, okay, this northern western portion, a great civilization existed. It is called Indus Valley Civilization, which you'll study later. So at this site, these are Mesopotamians. They used to live here, and they carried on trade with this Indian people. And how the archaeologists came to know that they have, these Mesopotamians and the Indus Valley people have trade. The seals of Mesopotamia were found when they dug the Indus Valley sites. You know the seals. You can see the seals here. These are special clay-made objects which are generally used for trade purpose. Okay, so these trade, you can see this also a trade seal. These seals, after making the goods pack, they press it on that, they make it dry so that they know that okay, this particular product has come from Mesopotamian land. So thus these seals served as a major evidence for revealing the information of trade and commerce. Mesopotamian seals were found in Indus Valley region, and similar seals from Indus Valley have also been found in Mesopotamia. So from this is Mesopotamia and this is Indus. The traders from Mesopotamia went and did trade with Indus people, and traders from Indus Valley civilization, they also did trade with Mesopotamian people. How we know this? Because Indus Valley seals were found in Mesopotamia and Mesopotamian seals were found in Indus Valley region. This showed that there was an extensive trade between people of the two civilizations. Finished products and grains were also exported to Mediterranean countries and Egypt. So these Mesopotamian people, they are very close to Mediterranean Sea. Okay, and through these rivers Tigris and Euphrates, they joined the Mediterranean Sea, and from there they carried on trade with other countries. So their trade was with other countries around this or other places around this Mediterranean Sea. If you look at very nearby to this Mediterranean Sea, even Indus Valley region is there. So they even did trade with Indus people. The Mesopotamians maintained records of their business dealings on clay tablets. So if you take a clay tablet, this is an Indus Valley tablet, clay tablet. This was found in Mesopotamia. And this is a Mesopotamian tablet, clay tablet, which is found in Indus Valley region. This shows that they both places have trade and commerce. Now, these people, they recorded the business information even on the clay tablets. Mesopotamians, what kind of trade they do, how much business they operated, all such kind of details were even printed, imprinted on clay tablets. So this is about the trade and commerce of Mesopotamia. So after learning the Mesopotamian occupations, we learned that they know agriculture. We know that there were even artisans, like they used to make some jewelry and other things. And also finally trade was operated. After learning all these things, let us see what kind of religion and culture was operated in society. So the society, you know that it is monogamous society, also it is patriarchal society. What kind of religion Mesopotamians were following? Each city in Mesopotamia had a patron god, and the temple of the patron god was located at the center of the city. So in Mesopotamia, there were many cities, like Ur was a city, isn't it? So each city had their own god, and he was called patron god. That means the people of that city, they always have pray. They always pray towards only that god. And if you look at the city, at the center of the city, there will be a prayer hall. And in that prayer temple or in that temple, there will be a god for them. So the patron god had the largest temple in city, while there were smaller temples for other gods throughout the city. So there will be one god for every city, and he will be having one temple also there itself. And it is a major temple of that particular city. Not only he is a major god and that will be a major temple, but in the city there will be other small gods also. The forces of nature such as sun, rain, moon and stars were worshipped. So who are their gods generally? Nature gods. That means sun god, rain god, moon as god, stars as gods. They used to worship. So they were all small gods for them, but they worship nature as God. These gods were kept happy by various ritual practices. So these people, uh, you know, these Mesopotamians, they have practiced the worship of gods, and they do certain rituals. That means they do some kind of puja, they do certain kind of activity, so that they feel that with that the gods will feel happy and they always will bless them, which were conducted by the priest, gave rise to priestly class. That means because there should be a prayer activity and kind of a ritual activity in a temple, those are all looked after by priests. So a priest will look after all the activities of the temple. He will be involved in the praying of God, rituals of the god and all, and this priest class has emerged in that way. As they believe in gods and worship of gods, person specially works for that kind of you know worship and belief system was present, and he is called a priest, and this priest was so powerful in that society. Kings were considered as the chief priest of the city. So the king of the city was considered as a chief priest. That means they used to believe that the king was the representative of God on earth and their chief priest, because a priest is a person who always does the rituals, stay close to the god, and conducts all the affairs of the god. So king was the chief priest, and later other priests were also present. Discovery of artifacts like weapons, jewelry, and vessels led to conclusion that people of Mesopotamia believed life after death. So if you look at the graves, wherever the dead bodies have been buried, the dead bodies that have been buried, if they were taken out and observed, the grave has been seen with several kind of jewelry. There is not only the dead body, but also some vessels were found, some jewelry were found, some like weapons were found along with the dead body. What does it suggest? It suggests their belief system that Mesopotamians, they believed in life after death, and hence they keep all those jewelry, pottery vessels, and everything, whatever the person likes, they keep along with that person's dead body and they bury it. That shows that they believed in life after death. So this is a kind of a religious belief and about the religion of the Mesopotamians. You can see the gods, the religious gods. I know this is a priest symbol. So these are all the kinds of things associated with religion and culture of Mesopotamians.